Mansfield. When looking at the Legacy of Kain series, it's not exactly uncommon for folks to land straight on the Soul Reaver games, the cool kids of the franchise with chinless emo wonder Raziel doddering around his fully 3D worlds engaging in a fantastical tale of afterlives, vampiric betrayal, and Tony J's voice. But the Soul Reavers were never my main squeeze in the series. Nor was Defiance. No, I've always maintained a doughy soft spot for the 1996 original Blood Omen Legacy of Kain. The old man of the franchise, starring the astoundingly sexy Cain doddering about his fully 2D worlds with a few 3D effects, engaging in a fantastical tale of afterlives, necromantic betrayal, and Tony J's voice. Today isn't a day to argue the toss over which is the better game though, and in fact there's a weird thing I feel with the Legacy of Kain series in that I tend not to compare the games. They're so well woven together that it really does feel like one giant whole, rather than a series of unrelated video gamey jaunts into worlds of swords and sorcery and blood or soul sucking. They're just all great. Apart from Blood Omen 2, but what can you do? No, today is a day to look at what it is about Blood Omen that made it so special to me as a teenager, and what it is about the game that's managed to keep it at the forefront of the game-shaped bit of my brain for the decades that have followed. It's mainly Tony J's voice, followed closely by Simon Templeman's voice, if we're being entirely honest here, but for the sake of the video, let's pretend it's not just about me getting all hot and sweaty about well-spoken Englishmen engaging in super voiceover work. See, Blood Omen isn't all that as a game. It's a top-down RPG in the vein, blood pun, of the early Legend of Zelda games. You move screen to screen on an overworld, you enter dungeons and batter bad bastards. You double back on yourself to open up progression originally locked away behind the fact you didn't have the Trinket of MacGuffin. It's not a bold reinvention of anything that came before it, more just a different presentation of a style of game that had already been popular for some time by the mid-90s. No, what helped Blood Omen clamp onto the all-too-unreliable memory unit of my brain was the setting, the atmosphere. Kain's world, a land known as Nosgoth, was one of people living bad lives under the heel of worse people, while also trying not to be killed by bandits, wolves, or vampires in the countryside, or in your bedroom, while you slept. Nosgoth was a land of noblemen being told to sling their hook before being violently murdered right outside the door of the inn, and said nobleman being swiftly reincarnated as a vampire lord seeking little more than vengeance. I don't think there was a hook shot in it, to be honest. So it was a dark world of dark darkness, sure, but it's easy to make a world that's outright nasty or unfair or straight up gory. That's nothing particularly special or standout. What Blood Omen mixed into this violence pate, though, was twofold. An ever-present sinister undercurrent and an absolute banality to the violence taking place. Nosgoth did not revel in the aggression and harm inflicted on its residents, but at the same time it didn't try and sweep it under the rug and pretend it wasn't a concern. It just was. Blood Omen did still wield its violence with an intensity, what with its whole storyline centering on murder as a means to obtain a tool of vengeance and a cursed existence thriving in chaos and blood embraced as a better way of being. The violence, whether in your face or a threat lurking just below the surface, was ever present, yet always presented as just a thing in this world. Violence for the sake of violence? Sure, but in the world of Cain and Nosgoth, that's just how things worked out. You gotta have your wits about you, kid, or this place'll eat you alive, especially if the player's feeling especially peckish. That setting and the whole vibe around it was the underlay to the hemoglobin-soaked carpet, of course. Blood Omen was a game very much focused on its combat, its sword-swinging, and its non-medical bloodletting practices. That standard video game violence absolutely carried the whole game, outside of the odd puzzle and related progression blocker, with Kain's traipsing through the world punctuated on almost every step with the brutal killing of yet another enemy in his way. But, again, that's not the stuff that kept me so interested and so invested after all this time. Early on, you're introduced to the concept of kidnapped people, chained up in dungeons, crypts, and other such dank and dark hideaways. Alright, so that's not anything particularly unique. We've all seen it on a Friday night in Kidderminster, right lads? Wee banter. I have no idea. But no, what elevated this specific element hit in two ways. One, how utterly helpless these people are, sobbing, crying out for help, desperate to be freed. And 2, how utterly insignificant to the course of the game it is for you to either feed from these captives, thus killing them, or simply murder them in cold blood. These people are, well, they're less than people. They're cattle. They're to be fed on or attacked as you saw fit, or ignored if you wanted. And whatever it was you decided, it didn't matter. That's how much the lives of those captives mattered. Such disregard for the lives of non-player characters I haven't seen since the likes of the original Syndicate, a game in which the mass murder of the civilian populace was just a thing that happened and saw absolutely no penalty to the player. Those people didn't matter. Life in that 90s cyberpunk future was cheap, just as life in the 90s gothic horror past of Blood Omen didn't matter beyond the chosen few. And all the chosen few were more than mere humans. Nosgoth was a dark world, nihilism given geographical form. But then there's the other thing. Nosgoth was an uncaring place, sure, and Blood Omen in general was a big old ball of pessimism from start to finish. Look at the fact the happy and benevolent self-sacrificial ending isn't canonical. Rather, the ending where Cain becomes the tyrant vampire king of all the land on his throne of blood is the true close of this particular chapter in the Legacy of Kain. But this nihilism, this grimdark world, wasn't passive. It was active in its decay, in its treachery, in its desire to show the player a world that probably wasn't even worth saving to begin with. For me, this point, this reveling in the suffering of Nosgoth and its denizens, is hammered home through one of Cain's main symbolic cries as he engages in combat. Okay, so it's a bit 90s video game in that he does say it way too much, but swinging his sword about the place in the midst of battle, Cain will bellow the words Vae Victus. Translated from Latin, this means woe to the vanquished, or in E-English, you've lost the battle and that's not all you're going to lose. This phrase, overdone as it might be, sums up the personality of the main character of the game from the very beginning. He's the anti-hero you spend hours playing as, your avatar throughout the Nosgothian adventure, and he absolutely relished the chance to inflict pain, suffering, violence against those in his way, whether an enemy of his or not. Almost like he was giving you a clue as to his true nature. It's in that, exactly as I say, relishing the chance to inflict violence, that Blood Omen truly makes its lasting mark. It presents a violent, grim world and runs with it. Lives are cheap, death is plentiful, and nobody will care about your passing. To meet a sudden end is banal. To be feed for the creatures that are more than human is the norm. To see those wielding power in this world using it to extract pure satisfaction from inflicting suffering on others, it's everyday stuff in Nosgoth. Blood Omen was fun to play. It's aged now, clunky as all hell, but I do still enjoy it, and newcomers could, I think, get a kick out of it as long as its age is taken into account. It's a smart game in more ways than one, and there's plenty about it to keep you engaged beyond that atmosphere and sinister setting. It looks, feels, and sounds moody, but it keeps you wondering what's coming next. It keeps you wanting to unlock your next vampiric power. It keeps you travelling down Cain's road to total corruption. And that banality in its presentation of violence, that's not always true. There are descriptions of the spells delivered by Templeman that ramp up the drama and describe in vivid detail how shocking and truly awful some of the magic in Nosgoth can be. So it's by no means an atmosphere or banality of violence carrying the whole Blood Omen experience. But without it, I'd see Blood Omen like I do the other Legacy of Kain games. Fun, good, well told, mature, but not really shocking enough to take up residence in the halls of my memory for nearly 30 years. No, it seems that for something to have that lasting impact on my brain, it, somewhat ironically, needs to have a thick, juicy core of nihilism smack bang in its centre, which probably says a lot about me. Thanks for watching, and special thanks to my patrons on Patreon, the sort of people I absolutely would not break into the house of and suck their blood while they slept. Unless I really wanted a snack at least. Join them through the link below. Thanks for watching. I'm off to continue my attempts to keep a small baby alive, which have so far been successful. Bye!